Welcome to video number 53 in our Tillis Tells WhatsApp story group. And I heard this story when I first came to Sfat in 1978 from a loyal Sanza Chassid, a famous Kabbalist artist, and eventually my good friend Yaakov Kajamacher of blessed memory. It's my very first Sfat story. And I sent it around as number 891 in my email list, and it's included in my third book, By the Light of the Full Moon. And there I titled it, The Speediest Dipper of All. Rabbi Chaim Halberstam, a great Hasidic master and a famous Torah scholar in the 1800s, was known as the Divrei Chaim, with the title of the collected volumes of his Torah thoughts and insights. He used to say that his prayers go up to heaven through Sfat. And at some point he decided that he wanted to have a synagogue in Sfat built to be the specific channel for his prayers. And so he enlisted for this mission his trusted elder son, Rabbi Yehezkel Shraga Halberstam, who eventually became known as the Rabbi Yehezkel after his sets of writings in Torah of Jewish law and Talmud. And the Rabbi Yehezkel arrived in Sfat in 1868. Now, he was an extremely pious man, and among his many strictnesses and customs was he would go to the mikveh several times a day. But as a Torah scholar of the highest caliber, he couldn't justify taking so much time away each day from his studies. So he trained himself to very speedily undress, immerse, and get dressed each time that he went to the mikveh, which was especially challenging when he was in Tzfat and Witayvel, only in the famous Ari Mikveh, where the waters are freezing cold, but he continued his practice here also. The Ari Mikveh might be the most famous mikveh in the world. It's an estimated 500,000 people immerse in its spring-fed waters each year, and local tradition has it that anyone who has immersed in its waters will not leave the world until he has sincerely returned to God. One afternoon, when the Shinova Rav went to immerse in the Ari Mikveh, he was getting undressed, and all of a sudden an elderly man entered the place, and while the Shinova Rav was still undressing, this elderly man got undressed, jumped in the mikveh, emerged, and got dressed, and started to leave. The Rabbi Yehezkel couldn't believe it. How could somebody be so much quicker than he at using the mikveh? He was very startled, and he called up to the man, "Who are you? Tell what is your name?" And the older man turned around and glared at him and said, "Why do you ask me my name?" And he walked out. And the Shinova Rav put his clothes back on as quickly as he could before immersing, and ran out to try to speak to the man, but by the time he was outside, the man was already out of sight. After finally completing the establishment of Hassan's shul in Sfat in 1870, and of which the remodeled version is still thriving today, the Divrei Yehezkel returned to Europe. His father, the Divrei Chaim, demanded from him a complete and detailed report of everything he had seen, done, and experienced. The Divrei Yehezkel complied, and the report took over an hour for him to speak out to his father. But when he was finished, his father was not satisfied. He said, "That's not everything." Yehezkel said, "It is." No, his father said, "You left something out." I didn't leave anything out," said the Rabbi Yehezkel. "Yes, you did," insisted his father. Okay, his father insisted. The Rabbi Yehezkel racked his brain trying to think of what it could be that he didn't report to his father. Then he remembered this strange incident at the mikveh. True, it was strange, but it wasn't especially significant, and that's why he had overlooked it. But since his father was insisting there was something he left out, so he told it to his father in detail. His father looked at him compassionately. My son, the next time you merit to see Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, don't ask him his name, ask him for a blessing.